Michael Moore is a big fat hypocrite. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. And this may not be exactly shocking news to everybody watching, but we've got a brand new story of this brought to my attention by Christian Toto, the movie critic and entertainment writer based here in Colorado. And he directed my attention to a column he put out earlier this week headlined "Movie Critic Leonard Maltin and his daughter publicly shame Michael Moore for attacking Boston Light and Sound," which is a small movie production studio in the Boston area. Listen, gents, let me read to you from this from Christian Toto's report. He wrote that Maltin says the filmmakers had to sue Moore, whose new film Fahrenheit 9/11 opened September 19, to recover more than $150,000 for services rendered to the Traverse City Film Festival. Moore founded that event in 2005 and has helped him to maintain his own fame and fortune. And Jesse, Maltin wrote, "For years, Michael Moore has neglected his bills. This time, he refused to pay our friends for their work on his film festival, which they helped him to build from the ground up. They finally filed a lawsuit, so now Michael Moore is slandering the guys that he didn't pay." And I got to tell you, I don't know what Leonard Maltin's politics are, but he was practically he was apologetic for having to make all this stuff public. He's a quiet, soft-spoken guy. I guess my question to you, Bill, is this kind of the end of Michael Moore if the entertainment industry is starting to turn on him, or does he have too much of a built-in fan base?
Michael who?
Nicely played.
I think this deserves a lot more attention as a general rule all across the board than it gets, and that is the relative mental health of these two sides of ours here. I really mean that. Michael Moore is a very, very unpleasant and deeply disturbed individual from high school. The people that barely remember him in high school, he was unpleasant then. He's a bully. And his entire career has been based on just plain mendacity, starting with the movie that made him famous, Roger and Me, where he goes around trying to interview the chairman of General Motors because of the terrible conditions, with the GM leaving these cities. And in point of fact, Roger was more than happy to sit with Michael Moore, but Michael Moore understood it'd be better if it looked like he was completely aloof, and so on and so forth. In Bowling for Columbine, he basically makes all kinds of, just Bowling for Columbine is a very great example, just very briefly, because this of all the things I know about Michael Moore, this says the most about him. I saw Bowling for Columbine in Santa Monica, surrounded by arch leftists. And the first scene in Bowling for Columbine is Michael Moore reads that there's a bank, I want to say in Georgia or Alabama, someplace in the South, and the bank was offering a free gun with every new bank account that you open instead of a toaster. So Michael Moore goes down to the bank, he opens a new account, they hand him a rifle, he comes out of the bank, he holds the rifle, shakes the rifle over his head and says, maybe giving out guns in a bank is not the very best idea. And I remember thinking, well, maybe it's not the very best idea, and all the liberals laughing and gasping and all the rest of it. Well, turns out that Michael Moore had contacted this bank, and it turns out that the bank was offering a gun for a new account, and what happened was if you opened up a new account, you were given a voucher to go to the gun store, where you would have to do all of the other things you would have to do at the gun store.
The FFL and all the rest, yeah.
Right. So Michael Moore basically tells these decent people who have no idea of the venality of Hollywood. He tells the decent people at the bank, it would be so much better visually, if we did it this way. Plus, it'd be a chance for you to, to show off your bank and the people in it. And these good-natured people just said, well, I guess if it's after hours and, yeah, okay, we could do that. So Michael Moore sets up the situation that he then mocks and defames the people that went out of their way to help him mock them. So he is known for this, Steve. He's just a terrible, awful person. And furthermore, he sued Miramax. He and his buddy Harvey Weinstein, another pinnacle of decency that we can all aspire to. Weinstein took an enormous risk with I cannot remember if it's Fahrenheit 9/11 or Columbine. I honestly don't remember which one of those it was. But he took an enormous risk and went out there and distributed this movie over against the wishes of Disney and so on. Did Michael Moore an enormous favor. And then Michael Moore, the anti-capitalist, sues Miramax because he doesn't think he's getting enough of the millions of dollars of profit that his film has made, denouncing capitalism. He's as much of a hypocrite and an idiot as Hogg. What's his first name?
David
Hogg.
David Hogg.
David Hogg. Yeah, David Hogg was
they
apparently at
deserve
the
each other.
preview of this. Yeah, at the premiere of. By the way, the fact that it's Fahrenheit 11/9 is a clear indication that whatever creative juices he may have once had have long gone after a string.
Well, it's supposed
string
to
of
be
real
Election
failures.
Day, I think, is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reference there.
Yeah, and I get it. I get it. But
Yeah.
when it's kind of like trying to make Lethal Weapon 13, right? Or Meatballs 2, which had nothing to do with Meatballs 1.
Yeah.
So in any event, David Hogg was there, and this I think the particular premiere they were at was in Canada, and he was basically saying, "All right, we need your help to make America the kind of America we all want it to be." David, it's Canada; they're not actually Americans. Well, we need your help to make America into the kind of America you want to have as a neighbor. So get out there and vote. David, they're Canadians; they can't vote in American elections. Well, get out there and send money to whichever American candidates you think are going to make this the most gun-free, beautiful. David, foreign contributions to political campaigns are felonies. I'll take the mic now. And so there's a picture of David Hogg, Michael Moore standing behind him, looking on with pride as Michael Moore passes the cow patty to a new generation of liars and idiots.
You know, Michael Moore could be standing 40, maybe even 50 feet behind David Hogg, and you'd still be able to see most of him. That's actually a comment on both of them.
The mendacious,
Eclipse?
the malign mendacious humanity of Michigan, I think I called it.
There you go. All right, Scott, this isn't just Leonard Maltin going out on Twitter to complain about this. It turns out there's a lot of this going around, and Christian Toto collected a bunch of these for his column, and I've just got a couple of these from him. The first is from Jason Keel, who's in the industry, who said, "When I was in the filmmaker community in Detroit, I heard rumors about how Michael Moore treated his crew, which was a far cry from how he portrays himself on film. Looks like he's done the same thing in Boston. Props to Leonard Maltin and Jesse Maltin for bringing this to light." And then another one of these from Chris Shear, who says, "Moore has a history of slander and libel. My journalism ethics class studied his role in this case more than 20 years ago, and he obviously hasn't changed." And I said this is just two of, I think, half a dozen of these that Christian found. Are we empowered against stuff like this, or are we just shouting at the wall?
Well, I don't think a lot of Americans are going to go to see this movie, or at least not a lot who will be influenced by it. The only kind of people who are going to go see Fahrenheit 11/9 are people who could have written it. The people. You have some power as a documentarist when you are punching up. And so that's why Roger and Me seemed, although Bill explains, that it was really behind the story is really not what it was portrayed on the screen. But if you're the little guy chasing the general, the CEO of General Motors around, trying to get an interview, you've got some power there as far as being a storyteller who is punching up at a much bigger adversary. When you become the much bigger adversary, and you're punching down at the little people, then you lose any power that you might have had. And now Michael Moore is just another big business who's, pays his workers inadequate wages, tries to get as much profit for himself as he possibly can, and strings everybody out to 60, 90, 120 days or more on paying his invoices. And so I hope that this story, first of all, I hope every aspect of it that's being reported in the media is true, and that Leonard Maltin and his daughter are on the right side of things here. I mean, obviously, I don't have any behind the scenes insight into this. But I think there is enough hypocrisy in government, and there's enough hypocrisy in business to go around. We don't need more hypocrisy coming from the alleged truth tellers who are supposed to be documenting the hypocrisy of others.
Yeah. Folks, let me tell you why I believe that Michael Moore would be stiffing small businesses like this and screwing over their employees. There was a story going around from, I think, 2003 or 2004, my old stomping grounds in Arcata, California, way up north behind the Redwood Curtain in Humboldt County. And he was there for something at HSU. And there was a story quoted about this law that Arcata was thinking about passing to limit the number of franchise-type restaurants and businesses in the city to encourage local small businesses to develop. And Michael Moore was on record in the local paper talking about his view of small business and why he just wanted a Jamba Juice in Arcata. He said small business were the people that supported all the right-wing groups. They were the Republicans. They were the Kiwanis, the Chamber of Commerce, people that kept the town all white. Small business, hardware salesman, the small clothing store salesperson, Jesse the barber who signed his name 3 different times on 3 different petitions to recall me from the school board. F all these small businesses. F them all. I'm cleaning that up for you. Bring in the chains. The small business people are the rednecks that run the town and suppress the people. F them all. That's how I feel. So that's Michael Moore defending the little guy against big corporate interests. And let me tell you what this reminds me of. Caligula, the Roman emperor, is supposed to have said that he wished all of Rome had just one neck. And that is modern progressivism. They want big business, big unions, and big government all in bed together for just the ugliest menage a trois in world history. Why? Because it's all about power, it's all about control, and it's all about snuffing out the little guy, which seems to be exactly what Michael Moore has been doing in this case and those guys in Boston. So, Michael, we're on to you. Yes, we are, you big fat hypocrite. And that's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. If you like what you see, please click on over. We'd love to have you as a part of the team. Become one of our producers. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.